Part 1. Just another call. Or so I thought. I remember that night like it happened yesterday. It was late, somewhere around 1:30 in the morning. My partner Sarah and I were wrapping up a quiet shift. No drama, no major incidents. We were parked near 5th and Madison, sipping lukewarm coffee, waiting out the last hour of patrol. Then came the call. Unit 23, we've got a noise complaint and possible drug activity at 129 East River. Neighbor reports loud banging, chemical smells, and screaming heard earlier tonight. I looked at Sarah. She raised an eyebrow and nodded. That area wasn't exactly new to us, known for meth labs, squatters, and people who disappeared off the radar. Still, it sounded routine. Another junkie flipping out, maybe a domestic gone bad. We thought we'd knock, ask questions, file a report, the usual. As we pulled up to the house, my gut felt off. Can't explain it. The place looked like it hadn't seen life in years. Broken fence, windows boarded up, roof sagging. And yet, there was light inside. A single flickering bulb behind a torn curtain. I stepped out of the car, hand resting on my holster. Sarah scanned the area with her flashlight. Silence. Not even a dog barking. The kind of silence that makes your skin crawl. We approached the door. I knocked. Firm, official. Police. Open up. Nothing. I knocked again. Still nothing. Sarah tried the knob. Locked. But the door creaked slightly, not fully latched. We exchanged a look. Policy was clear. We could enter if we believed someone was in danger. And with that report, screaming, chemical fumes, we had cause. Let's go slow, I whispered. I pushed the door open. The smell hit us first. A mix of ammonia, decay, and something I couldn't place. The kind of stench that sticks to your clothes, your skin, your memory. Inside, the living room was a disaster. Trash everywhere, dark stains on the walls. But no people, no voices. Just the sound of our own breathing and the soft creak of our boots on the rotten floorboards. Sarah glanced at me. This doesn't feel right, she whispered. She was right. We didn't know it yet, but we had just stepped into the worst night of our careers. Studio microphone part 2. Something was watching us. We moved deeper into the house, every step crunching on broken glass and debris. The walls were stained yellow and brown, like the place hadn't been aired out in years. Something dripped from the ceiling, slow, steady. I couldn't tell if it was water or something else. Sarah led the way, flashlight sweeping across piles of garbage, rotting food, used needles. The deeper we went, the more it felt like we weren't alone, like the house itself was alive and watching. Kitchen's clear, I whispered, glancing around. Living room too. But there's a door to the basement, she replied, nodding toward the far corner. That's when we saw the first real sign of something wrong. On the floor, a shoe. A small woman's sneaker, half buried under a pile of clothes. Fresh blood soaked into the laces. Next to it, a torn piece of fabric, like from a dress. Sarah and I both froze. Suddenly, this wasn't just a drug house. This was a crime scene. Dispatch, Unit 23, I whispered into my radio. Possible 10 to 71. Need backup at 129 East River. Be advised, signs of struggle and possible hostage situation. Proceeding with caution. Radio crackled back. Copy that, 23. Backup en route. ETA, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. A lot can happen in 7 minutes. We turned toward the basement door. It was slightly ajar. A faint flicker of light came from beneath. I drew my weapon, heart pounding. Every instinct screamed at me to slow down, to wait. But we didn't have time. I opened the door slowly. Wooden stairs led down into darkness. The light flickered from a bulb somewhere below, swinging slightly, like someone had just passed under it. Stay behind me, I told Sarah. She nodded, gun ready. Step by step, we descended. The air grew colder, heavier, like breathing through wet cloth. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and old furniture sat abandoned in corners. Halfway down, we heard something, a faint rustling. Then a laugh. But not a normal laugh. It was hollow, broken, like someone had forgotten how to be human. Sarah's grip tightened on my shoulder. We reached the bottom of the stairs, and the sight stopped us both in place. The basement had been turned into a makeshift lab. Dirty glass tubes, burners, chemicals scattered everywhere. On the far side of the room, a cage. An actual cage. And inside it, huddled in the corner, was a young woman. Her eyes wide, face pale, shaking uncontrollably. Dried blood on her forehead. She saw us and gasped, too weak to scream. Then everything happened at once. A noise behind us, fast movement. I turned just in time to see a figure lunging from the shadows. Tall, shirtless, wild-eyed. His face twisted, teeth yellow, veins bulging like he was on something stronger than anything I'd ever seen. Sarah shouted. I fired. Studio microphone, part 3. Everything went to hell in seconds. The shot rang out. Loud, sharp, echoing off the basement walls like a thunderclap. But the guy didn't go down. He stumbled, sure, maybe felt the hit, but whatever was in his system, it made him unstoppable. He crashed into Sarah, sending her flying into a metal shelf. The sound of glass shattering and her body hitting concrete snapped something inside me. Sarah, I yelled. She groaned, but didn't move. I turned my attention back to him. He was charging again. His eyes, man, I'll never forget those eyes. Empty, crazed, soulless. Like whatever humanity used to live in that body had long since packed up and left. I fired again, this time twice. Center mass. He dropped. Heavy, dead weight. Blood pooled fast under his back. But even then, I kept my gun on him, finger tight on the trigger, breath caught in my throat. I backed up towards Sarah, checking her. She was conscious but bleeding from her head. I'm okay, she whispered. Just get the girl. The girl. I turned. She hadn't moved. Just sat in that cage, knees pulled to her chest, eyes locked on me. She was shaking so hard. Her teeth were chattering. I moved slowly, holstered my weapon, and approached the cage. It's okay, I said gently. You're safe now. I'm Officer Thomas. Can you hear me? She blinked. Then, barely audible, he said he'd come back. That he always comes back. I crouched beside the lock, rusted, old-school padlock. Took me a minute to break it open with my knife. The moment the door swung open, she bolted into my arms like a scared child. Just collapsed into me, sobbing. Her whole body was trembling, but she clung to me like I was the last person left on earth. That moment, I won't lie, I felt it in my soul. All the anger, the fear, the adrenaline, it faded for just a second. And in its place was grief. For her. For what she'd been through. For how many others like her we'd never find in time. Backup arrived 2 minutes later. They stormed in, weapons drawn. Found Sarah sitting up, bruised but alive. I handed the girl off to paramedics. She didn't want to let go. Not even when they wrapped a blanket around her. She just kept whispering, "Don't let him wake up. Don't let him wake up." I looked back at the guy on the floor. He wasn't waking up. I was sure of that. But his face still haunted me. That twisted grin, those wide, empty eyes. Like he'd wanted us to find him. Like it was all part of some game he played in his own broken mind. While the medics worked, I helped Sarah to her feet. She winced, holding her side. You okay? I will be, she said. We got her out. That's what matters. Yeah, we did. But the house wasn't done with us yet. Studio microphone part 4. The house had more to say. Even after the suspect was confirmed dead and the girl was taken away, the house didn't feel done. The kind of silence that settled over everything wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, like it was holding its breath. Sarah was taken to the hospital for a CT scan. I stayed behind to secure the scene with the forensics team. I don't know why I didn't just walk away. Something kept tugging at me, telling me there was more. The evidence team started combing through the basement. One of them, Martinez, called me over to a door I hadn't noticed before. It was tucked behind a crumbling shelf, almost invisible in the dark. This was bolted from the outside, he said, shining his flashlight on the hinges. Whatever's in there, someone didn't want it getting out. That stopped me cold. We unbolted it slowly, carefully. The door creaked open, and behind it, another room. Small. Concrete walls, no windows. It reeked of ammonia and sweat. Just a bare mattress, a bucket, and drawings. Hundreds of them. Childlike. Scribbled in charcoal and blood. Faces. Screaming faces. Some had XS over the eyes. Some were torn. Some were nailed to the wall with rusty screws. One corner had writing all over it. Frantic. Overlapping phrases like someone had written the same sentence 1,000 times. She sees me when I sleep. She won't stay quiet. She tells me things I don't want to hear. I stared at that wall and felt my stomach turn. Whoever this guy was, he wasn't just some junkie. He was something else. Something deeper. Damaged in a way we couldn't fully understand. We kept moving, upstairs now, clearing every room with new eyes. Each one told a story: rotten food, stained bedsheets, more needles, burnt spoons, broken family photos with faces scratched out. Then we got to the attic. The trapdoor was old, barely held up. When I climbed up, the first thing that hit me was the smell. Decay. Not the kind from food, the kind from time. There were 3 small beds up there, crib-sized, and bones. Tiny ones. They were wrapped in old blankets, like someone had tried to give them a resting place. Above one bed, written in red, "Angels don't cry." I backed away slowly. Didn't say a word for a full minute. What started as a routine warrant had turned into something out of a nightmare. This guy wasn't just a meth head with a temper. He'd been collecting pain, living in it, breeding it. The worst part? No one had noticed. Not neighbors. Not family. No calls. No reports. Like he'd just disappeared into the cracks and pulled others in with him. Back outside, the sun was rising. Blue and gold streaked the sky, and for a second, the world looked normal again. But I didn't feel normal. I felt changed. The girl survived. That's what I kept telling myself. But I couldn't unsee what we found. And something told me this wouldn't be the last time I stepped into a house like that. Studio Microphone, Part 5, The Quiet After the Storm. The case exploded overnight. By morning, we were headline news. Police rescue abducted girl from House of Horrors. Meth addict linked to child remains found in attic. Media vans lined the street. Reporters shouting questions. Neighbors giving shocked interviews like they'd always known something was off. But deep down, I could tell. They didn't want to believe it until someone else said it was true. I gave my statement. Clean. Factual. No emotion. That's what they expect. But inside, I wasn't okay. I couldn't stop thinking about that room. The drawings, the writings, the bones. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the girl. Not just the one we rescued, but the ones we didn't. And Sarah? She tried to play it cool, said she'd had worse knocks in her early days. But we both knew this was different. It had scratched something raw inside us. 2 days later, I visited the hospital. The girl was still there, under observation, surrounded by social workers and trauma therapists. When she saw me, she smiled. Small, fragile, but real. She handed me a piece of paper. A drawing. It was her, standing next to me and Sarah. We were smiling. Above us, a big, yellow sun. Below, just one sentence in uneven block letters. I'm not afraid anymore. I felt my throat tighten. I kept it together until I got back to my car. Then I broke down. And I mean really broke down. Years of training, discipline, keeping things compartmentalized. It all just cracked. You don't realize how much you carry until something finally lets you feel it. Internal Affairs cleared the shooting, said it was justified, clean, necessary. But it didn't feel clean. I kept asking myself, what if I hadn't pulled the trigger? What if she hadn't survived? What if there are more out there? That's the part that eats at you. The not knowing. And the knowing that no matter how many you save, there will always be more. I started therapy. First time in my life I admitted I needed it. Didn't even tell Sarah at first. Just sat across from some stranger with a notepad and said, I watched evil bleed out in front of me, and it still didn't feel like justice. He nodded like he'd heard it before. Maybe he had. And now, I go back to work. Uniform on. Badge polished. Smile in place. People shake my hand, call me a hero. But inside, I carry their faces. The ones we saved, and the ones we couldn't. Part 6. Why I still put on the badge. It's been 6 months. The case is closed. The reports are filed. The news crews are long gone. People moved on. That street, the one with the house, got cleaned up. Fresh paint, new tenants, even a dog barking in the yard now. You'd never know what happened there unless someone told you. But I remember. Every time I drive past, I glance at that house. Just a second. Enough to remind myself why I still wear this badge. Not for the recognition. Not for the paycheck. But for that one girl who looked me in the eye and said, I'm not afraid anymore. That sentence changed something in me. This job, it's not about chasing glory or being a tough guy. It's about showing up when no one else can. It's about walking into the darkness so someone else can see the light. I'm not the same man I was before that night. I take less for granted now. I hug my kids tighter. I listen more. I see things I used to overlook, signs of pain hiding in plain sight. And sometimes, I dream of that attic. But I wake up, breathe, and remind myself, we saved one. And sometimes, saving one is everything. The badge is heavy now, but I carry it anyway. Because if I don't, who will?